Hello everyone and welcome to the Smashi Business Show. Today is Friday, September 19, 2025 and I'm Abdul Majid Awan.
And I'm Warid Ahmed and we've got a packed show for you today. Happy Friday everyone. So for today's headline, Saudi PIF becomes the largest shareholder in the MBC in a $2 billion deal. Khalaf Habtoor, the UAE billionaire and chairman of Habtoor Group, has pledged $2.7 million for the Umayyad Mosque in Damascus and the Syrian community. Red Sea Global says alcohol is not needed for luxury tourism success. It was an exclusive piece by AGBI, and Germany is still weighing EU sanctions on Israel.
And the very first story today is very big. MBC Group has announced the completion of Saudi Arabia's PIF, Public Investment Fund, PIF, acquiring a 54% stake in the media giant. Now PIF owns it, majority stake basically, valued at Saudi Riyal 7.47 billion, which equals to $2 billion. The transaction was executed privately with Istidama Holding Company. This move makes PIF the largest shareholder in MBC now, listed on Tadawul under number 4072.
The acquisition reinforces MBC's role in Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030, positioning the kingdom as a key player in global media and entertainment. MBC, reaching 150 million viewers weekly, is set to expand premium Arabic content production and enhance its streaming platform Shahid across the MENA region.
And PIF's stake aligns with its strategy to build regional champions in high-growth sectors. MBC plans to accelerate investments in original Arabic content, including series, films, and digital formats, while strengthening its production footprint in Saudi Arabia to meet rising regional demand.
Shahid, MBC's leading streaming service, will expand across the Middle East and globally, leveraging PIF backing to grow its subscriber base and compete with international streaming platforms, which it has already done successfully. Now, investments will also target emerging sectors such as music, gaming, and live events.
And with PIF support, MBC is poised to innovate and adapt to evolving media trends, delivering long-term value for audiences and shareholders. The partnership signals Saudi Arabia's increasing influence in shaping the future of Arabic media and entertainment across the region.
I think that with this entire story, it's really telling you how powerful PIF is. You know, they control most of the companies in Saudi Arabia. They're worth over $1 trillion. The number is so crazy to say right now because, Majid, we've seen how it's grown over the months, not even years, over the months. And I think for me, like, I see this almost as a trend. You know, the fact that you have Al-Walid Al-Ibrahimi, who has now given most of his controlling stake to PIF. And then you also have Al-Walid bin Talal, the billionaire behind Kingdom Holding, the Middle East's richest man. And I believe years ago, PIF had actually purchased more than a 15% stake in Kingdom Holding. And at that time, that stake was like $1.5 billion or more. So it's interesting that it's these personalities behind these companies that their stake is being bought out.
Yeah, and PIF has a lot of money. The only thing that I see is they're not investing for the sake of investing. The diversification strategy is pretty clear now. We always talked about how they will diversify, what will they do, who will they invest in. And now I think they have, if you look at it closely, you have some big categories that they're investing in. The clip that we shared of Yasser Al-Rumayyan recent talk, the whole talk, he identified 13 sectors. But out of those 13 even, I still think a lot of them, the major ones, one of them is sports. Obviously, investment in terms of bonds, in terms of equities and everything. But if you look at the newer ones, which they never explored before, it's sports, one. Turkey Al-Sheikh going everywhere, signing deals, this, that. WWE, wrestling is coming to Saudi Arabia. Then we have Tom Brady coming to Saudi Arabia for Riyadh season. There's so many deals there. So that is one. Second, we've seen entertainment there. They've finally completed this takeover. Wherever you see, through Surge Sports Investments, the Six Kings Cup is there, Surge Sports Investments, under PIF, which is their sports investment arm. They've invested $1 billion in DAZN. wherever you see, it's like the main three big categories are, one is the conventional category, the stocks, the equities, the this and that, and the second and third is sports and entertainment, because they think they can make a lot of money out of it, and they have. Riyadh season, I think the last 2 or 3 version, all of them have been bigger year on year. So they're making money out of their investments, and that's the most important part. And I think MBC is supposed to be under them now, because entertainment-wise, that is the biggest product they have in Saudi Arabia.
It is, and it's like with Al-Walid Al-Ibrahimi, like I always say this, Majid, when he founded the MBC back in the, like that was 1990, I think 1991, he was a man who was ahead of his time. And I think with the MBC, it's such a successful product because of the fact that they're so flexible and they're so adaptable is what I would say. I think that's really what determines who a company is, because over the years, we've seen how the MBC has slowly evolved from like cable TV to streaming. And it's so insane. It's like, especially as someone who used to be an avid watcher of MBC 1, 2, 3, MBC Bollywood, MBC Action, there was so much on channels, and for them to like climb up, create Shahid, for Shahid to now have this big collaboration with Netflix, like they have really evolved. So I think that it's such a good investment, and I think also with PIF, like you mentioning those lists of investments, Majid, I think this is why I find it really strange that people would like to doubt NEOM. NEOM is the $500 billion megacity project that Saudi Arabia is after, and hopefully it will be completed by 2030. And the West keeps saying, like, this is completely impossible. But it's not, because we have seen their investments in the past. We've seen how PIF, they own, the main Saudi football clubs. And we've seen how far these football clubs have grown. So I think with this track record that they've had in choosing their investments, I mean, this is great. I truly look forward to it.
It's mainly if you dissolve it to the lowest atom, it's basically them spending dollars and expecting some double, triple return. Like if they invest $1, they at least want $2 on it. That's the main idea at the end of the day. And a lot of people, since she talked about the Western media, there's this very famous theory going on. Wherever you read Bloomberg,
I'm so curious right now.
You have Bloomberg now, just start reading it more and more, and you'll see there's this certain sarcastic tone that the Western media uses whenever they talk about NEOM, and that sarcastic tone mainly is about, how they're borrowing money. They're putting out sukuks, they're putting out bonds, they're putting out this. They keep borrowing. That's the phrase that they constantly use. Saudi is still borrowing, again borrowing, this, that. Okay, they're borrowing the money, but look at the investment that they have done and look at the returns that they're getting on it. So if they're borrowing money and they're getting returns and then they're returning the money to the people that they borrowed it from, it's fine. They're at the end of the day making money. That is how you do business. You borrow money, you make some money for yourself, and you make some money for the people that you borrow it from. And that is how the world works. It's not a new concept that Saudi is doing. Across history, whenever you see at Europe, their golden age, you look at America's golden age, everyone borrowed money. The US, I think, has the biggest debt in the world in trillions of dollars because they borrow money based on their treasuries, the treasury bonds. So I don't know why they take that sarcastic tone with Saudi Arabia only. They never take it with the US or Europe or any other continent or region. It's just, no, Saudi is borrowing a lot of money. So what? They are borrowing it and they're making good investments.
And they also have a lot of money.
Yeah, they already have a lot of money. Yeah. So,
that's a really interesting point, Majid.
Yeah, it's just them being sarcastic and skeptic also that never happening. We saw the Morning Brew post about the story. It's really interesting how they were playing around with, this will do this. They are coming up with concepts at least. They are thinking out of the box, right?
And you know what it also is, Majid? It's like, remember how I mentioned that podcast, that entire investigation that came out? I think it was called Death in Dubai. Not to even talk about
BBC
it,
one,
but just but just this word, Dubai, Gulf terms, like they've become such buzzwords. I feel like lately in the news, you mention a royal, you mention a princess, an emir. that is trending. It is trending. The Gulf is trending, and it kind of brings me to my point of I think that Saudi Arabia going after this approach of buying into Al Walid Al Ibrahimi's MBC is almost like taking the business into the country, in house, not allowing foreign influence to infiltrate. In the sense of right now, we've seen how they've collabed with business with Netflix, and we're going to get this joint subscription. And I think that them purchasing it's important because it keeps the business in Saudi. It keeps the money pool in Saudi, which is exactly what we want. And I think with Netflix, with just the very few shows that they've done that are linked to the Arab world, like Love is Blind, Habibi, and Dubai Bling, we've seen how much the world wants to get a taste of Dubai. They want to get a taste of the Gulf. They want to know what is going on in the Middle East. So I think that this is prime time for all of this to be coming together. I'm glad that they're doing this.
Just that the example that you give, that Saudi government, Saudi PIF has enough money to buy MBC majority stake, 54%. We can link it to the Telegraph story where Abu Dhabi tried to buy it, and the UK government, they couldn't buy it themselves. They don't want any foreign influence, but they could have very easily said, okay, no, we're not going to sell it to anyone, Abu Dhabi, IMI or Redbird. We're just going to buy it ourselves because we don't want propaganda. They could have done it. They can't, because again, they are short on money and they don't want to invest in the product because they don't believe in their own product. They don't believe the Telegraph is profitable or would make them a lot of money over decades, right? You have to understand, just keep these two things in mind and then realize that it is growing. Middle East, whenever we talk about it, that's growing. It's not just in the idea of a lot of people are coming in, investing money. It's a lot of us investing in other companies, internally, externally. So UK could have easily, but they played they played wrong with Abu Dhabi based IMI and the Redbird company, which combined for the deal. They could have easily bought it themselves.
And I think it's also
MBC bought PIF bought MBC.
I think it's also so hilarious, Majid, because it's the Gulf now has so many foreign friends. You know, it's not just the locals. It's not just us Arabs who believe in these nations. It's all of these foreigners, you have Ray Dalio coming here, you have all of these billionaires, you have Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, constantly making unknown visits. So I think that that's very telling. I think the fact that they have many foreign friends who are backing them, who want to be a part of these projects, I think that's a complete standout.
And the next story today is about billionaire Emirati entrepreneur Khalaf Al Habtoor. He has announced a 10 million dirham package to support Syria. After we have seen Syria is the buzzword right now for investment and everything. But the program will fund restoration work at the historic Umayyad Mosque in Damascus and initiatives for vulnerable groups in partnership with the Syrian Ministry of Social Affairs and Labor.
Now the funds will support the mosque's restoration and provide assistance for imams, scholars, and administrators. Additional initiatives include a center for people with special needs focused on rehab and skills development, along with a program to help marginalized community members reintegrate and gain support.
And what he said was, our support is more than a financial pledge. It's a message of solidarity with Syria and its people. That's what he said. He's the founding chairman of Al Habtoor Group, as Word mentioned. He emphasized the mosque as a civilizational and human treasure also, and the importance of empowering those who serve the mosque.
Now the program aligns with broader humanitarian efforts in Syria. The international charity organization in Ajman recently launched an 8 million dirham aid package for schools, mosques, clean water, healthcare, and support for orphans and underprivileged families, highlighting coordinated international support for the region.
And Al Habtoor Group, established in 1970, operates in hospitality, property, education, insurance, and publishing in the UAE and abroad, including the UK, Austria, Hungary, Lebanon, and the US. The Syria package reflects the group's continued commitment to cultural preservation and social impact in the region. It's a very nice move. Everyone is doing something for Syria, and I think it's very important that they do, because it has the power to become the next superpower in this region. We also talk about Lebanon. Yeah, they can. They have to. I don't think it's the question of if or what or when. They should. They have so much support from the world. this should be the next. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight or in like a year or two. It will take like at least 5 years to just be on a good like balance sheet where whatever you earn is whatever you're spending. But yeah, obviously, eventually in a decade, we want to see Syria at a place of power, be it soft power or whatever power, but we want to see them in a place of power, standing as the top 5, top 4, top any countries in the Middle East.
Yeah, and I think with this entire story, Majid, you could definitely say that Khalaf al-Habtoor is one of the top billionaires involved in Syria right now. I think that this is a great
On an individual level.
Yeah, on an individual level, I think, other than the fact that, okay, fine, this is a great humanitarian cause, this is a great purpose to go after, that's amazing. But I think that this is really going to win the hearts of Syria and Syrians, because that mosque, and like this was to my complete shock, I did not know, that mosque is like 1,300 years old.
Wow.
That is crazy. That is centuries. So for him to step in, this UAE billionaire, this Dubai businessman, to come in and say, hey guys, I'm going to write off this $2.7 million check and I'm going to restore this mosque. I think, yes, it's a great purpose, but it's definitely going to win people's hearts. And we've seen how since the fall of Bashar al-Assad, there have been certain entities that have stepped in. It has not been everyone. Yes, it's very easy to oversimplify it. Say yes, the Gulf is helping Syria, but it's not actually everyone. It's Qatar and Saudi. They stepped in together to pay off their $15 million World Bank debt, and you also had Qatar stepping in to pay Syrian government wages. Saudi Arabia later stepped in too, but from the UAE. We've just seen one specific character who has stepped in, and it has been Khalaf al-Habtoor. Despite the fact that his investment in Lebanon did not go the way that he wanted it to, and we know it did not go the way he wanted it to,
because he told us.
He did. He was like, I'm going to dismantle and slice up my Beirut hotel, and I'm going to ship it. Now we hear he's going to rebuild it again. But I think that him stepping in, Majid, it's so important because it kind of it leaves room for this competition that I'm honestly waiting for, because so far what we've seen, the biggest characters who have actually stepped in, it's been government entities, countries, and Al-Khayyat brothers. The Al-Khayyat brothers, who are Qatari, they're behind the big company Baladna, so that we're seeing Khalaf al-Habtoor stepping in into this uncharted territory. There's not really much UAE billionaires scattered there. I think that this is a great move. I think what he's doing is very smart.
Yeah, and since you said it's old, I remembered I read about the Umayyad Mosque somewhere. I googled it right now, but yeah, it's fun. There's two great places which the Umayyads built. They were the first dynasty after the 4 caliphs, and they ruled for 100 years, 661 to 750, so nearly 100 years. But two of the main large-scale architectures that they built for, like, obviously development of Islamic civilization, Dome of the Rock and the Umayyad Mosque. And their center, their capital of the Umayyad dynasty was Damascus. So it makes sense.
Wow.
So the mosque has history, and that is why I think Khalaf al-Habtoor was like, okay, we're going to invest in this. So it's a nice, very, very nice gesture that we've seen. Recently, I think we also, Love in Dubai did the story where Dubai helped restore something in Syria or somewhere. They also helped. I forgot what they did, but I think it was Syria or Lebanon. So all these things that have Islamic historical significance, the region is helping people to restore them, make them better, make them a tourist spot, make them like more. I think it's the rebirth of the Islamic civilization, to be honest.
Rebirth, really?
Yeah, it's kind of like people lost a lot of, like this Umayyad Mosque, I don't think before I told this history, a lot of people wouldn't even remember it. Even I forgot about it because I read the Islamic history. I forgot about it. Because why? Because there is no mention. Syria has been in problems. Damascus has been in problems, that everyone just remembers the problems. No one remembers the history of, oh, this was this was this.
And
this
how
was
beautiful
this.
it is.
And it is there. So I think it's kind of like a rebirth of it all. And thanks to Khalaf al-Habtoor, now it's being restored. The next story is from our neighbors, Saudi Arabia. And Red Sea Global basically reports The Red Sea Global has reported strong repeat business at its luxury resorts without serving alcohol. It's one of the biggest contention in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia right now, and a lot of time, all the ministers have come out and said they're not going to allow it. But the PIF-backed project opened its first hotel in November 2023, Red Sea Global, followed by Amala in 2024 with Shura Island to welcome guests later this year. It's supposed to open in 2025, and it has like big names. All the big hotels are opening on Shura Island.
Now, Red Sea Global aims to have 8,000 hotel rooms and 1,000 residential properties by 2030, employing 120,000 staff. Now, the resorts hope to host 1.5 million guests that year. Head of development Stephen Cheesebro said success is not tied to lifting the country's alcohol ban.
And Saudi authorities recently denied rumors that alcohol would be served at select resorts, reaffirming the 73-year-old ban. Cheesebro highlighted huge repeat visitation and positive reviews, demonstrating the destination's appeal under current regulations and proving alcohol is not a priority.
Now, most guests currently come from Saudi Arabia and the Gulf, partially due to limited air connectivity. Now, Red Sea International Airport opened in 2023, will add Qatar Airways flights from Doha in October, targeting 1 million passengers annually by 2030.
And Cheesebro noted the decline in alcohol consumption globally reinforces their strategy. In the US, this was part of the report by AGBI, drinking among adults dropped to 54% in 2025, with 53% considering moderation is harmful. Red Sea Global will continue focusing on guest experience, luxury, and repeat visitation to drive growth. And I think they should take a page out of Dubai UAE's book. It's the best hospitality you will see anywhere in the world. And trust me, I've been to a lot of hotels. The way UAE welcomes you, even the smallest hotel, like even if you go to a 3-star hotel, the way they welcome you, no one in the world does it better. And that's my opinion, but I think everyone who's been here, they will agree with it. From the moment you put your step in the hotel till you get out, you will always find smiling faces trying to help you, never angry. They'll have every answer to every weird question that you can ask. This is what I have felt. I've been to Saudi Arabia, I've been to Turkey, I've been to 4 or 5 countries now. Not a big traveler, but all the countries that I see, they were good. But to be honest, still right now, even now, I'll say the best is UAE. In terms of hospitality.
That is crazy, Majid. You really ended this story and said, okay, UAE is the best. Look, honestly, with this story, look, I stand with them because, this is such a such a courageous decision to make. Stick to your culture, stick to your cultural roots. I think that when we appreciate our own culture, there's so much success that can come with it. You don't have to abandon what you believe in to make other people happy. And honestly, I love this. I completely support this. I think this is great.
The idea, basically, to be honest, is that if you want alcohol, if you want party, there's 100 other countries, just go there. But if you want actual luxury, actual hospitality, if you want to relax, not be high all the time, I think these are the places. Amala, I was reading about it when I was doing this story, and Amala is a actual wellness resort island kind of a place where you actually go for wellness. So obviously, alcohol doesn't make sense. Apart from that, 2034 World Cup, everyone has a question, will alcohol be there? No, there won't be alcohol because every time we've seen a minister come or any tourism minister come or any person in position of like taking a decision for Saudi Arabia, whenever we hear them talk, they're like, no alcohol. Recently, I think it was at the start of the year where there was a very big rumor. Everyone covered it. Literally, everyone was like, oh, it's happening. But it stemmed from a blog, which we did a fact check about, that it's not true that they're allowing alcohol in certain hotels or spots or certain eateries. It's completely banned everywhere. So I don't know when it will change or if it will change or whether it will ever change, but they're doing good even without it. So why introduce it, right? If you are doing good, if you have repeat customers who came, who saw there's no alcohol and they came again, that means you were doing something good. So that way works completely fine. Next up, we have German Chancellor. Now we're going on a global scale. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said Berlin will decide soon on EU plan to suspend Israel's preferential trade status. The proposal comes amid growing international criticism over the humanitarian crisis and the genocide in Gaza and escalating civilian casualties in the whole genocide.
Now, speaking in Madrid with Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, Merz expressed deep concern over Gaza's situation. It's the fact that they call it a situation, and cautioned the West Bank annexation could further jeopardize a two-state solution. He reiterated Germany's stance against recognizing Palestinian statehood at this stage.
You see all the carnage and you still don't think a two-state solution is a solution. But yeah, continuing on with Germany, they plan to announce its position at an informal EU leaders meeting on October 1. Sanchez voiced strong support for the sanctions and urged tougher measures, while Merz dismissed characterizing Israel's actions as genocide. He was clearly asked, and he clearly answered, no, it's not a genocide, highlighting the divisions among EU member states.
Now, the EU is Israel's largest trading partner, accounting for 32% of its global goods trade. That is really big. Now, the 2000 EU-Israel Association Agreement underpins a 68 billion euro relationship, providing preferential market access and cooperation in research, environment, and energy sectors.
And lastly, if implemented, reimposed tariffs would affect 5.8 billion euros of Israeli exports, generating approximately 227 million euros in duties. Germany's eventual decision will be pivotal, as such measures require support from major EU members to achieve the necessary majority for adoption. I don't think Germany will ever get an approval, because we see France is on the side of announcing Palestine as a state. We see UK is there. But Germany is one of the superpowers in Europe.
But I think
they should be there.
There was once a time it was not a superpower, and I think when I take a look at this
it's
story,
just their history. They're just doing it for the history. They don't want to be
I so agree
on the
with
side
you,
that they were at some
because
point.
if you take a look at World War One, World War One, Germany had to suffer, and it was punished due to the Treaty of Versailles.
Yeah.
Come World War II, you have Hitler, you have the Nazis. Once again, Germany was punished. It was punished. I believe in 1945 or 1946, when World War II was over, they had actually divided Germany into zones between the superpowers, between the UK, France, the Soviet Union, and the US. And then you also had Germans who actually had to work for these other countries. They had to pay such insane amounts in reparations. They were really indebted. And I think that's why, for me, Germany right now being the odd one out, Germany being the country that does not really want to recognize Palestine's statehood, I think that it makes complete sense when you take a look at their history and how they've been ostracized for everything that happened during that time. But I think that that's no excuse. We're talking about 1945. Okay, fine. If the effects do go on, Germany at some point has become powerful on its own. So I think that there's no excuse for this, decades later.
See, they've been on the wrong side of history, and everyone criticizes it for them. They just are playing the safest possible at the moment. They don't want to be. They are criticizing Israel's actions, which is important because it's very clear. It's well documented. We saw. Did you see the clips coming out of the Wembley Arena event? Everyone was there. The Ziteo, Mehdi Hassan, founder of Ziteo, former anchor because he was fired because he openly criticized Israel, made his own media company. Florence Pugh was there. The footballer Eric Cantona was there. Like some of the clips that I saw, everyone was there. Benedict Cumberbatch came and
Doctor Strange.
Yeah, he read Mohammad Darwish's poetry. Everyone was there claiming that whatever is happening is a genocide.
The chicken shop lady.
Yeah.
Amelia.
Yeah,
with her
she
show.
was there. So imagine all these people are saying it, but Germany can't because history. So it's fine. It's okay. Sometimes some countries have to, but the main point is that you say it is wrong. I don't to be honest, what I've realized over this nearly 2 years now, October 7, it'll be 2 years. And this is actually a point that Mehdi Hassan, the Ziteo guy, he made very nicely, that just don't call it a genocide. He's always on the Piers Morgan show, and always Piers Morgan loves to bring an Israeli person with him. And he's like, don't say it's a genocide. It's okay, fine. But at least say it's wrong, whatever they're doing. Don't call it a genocide. I don't care. Just say that Israel is wrong. Even people right now with so much, the biggest documented genocide in history, every journalist, every person who had a phone and internet connection, they've showed what is happening. Even with that, some people are saying, no, it's justified. So the point is clear, that at least just call it wrong. Don't say it don't call it a genocide. It's fine, but call it wrong. At least do that minimum level, right?
So true.
And people are not ready to do that.
They aren't.
Some people are actually not ready.
And it's like honestly completely disappointing, Majid. I think even for myself, I've written so many stories about this, I feel, up until now, and it's kind of reached a point for me where every time that I write it's so bleak. It honestly, it is so bleak to have to repeat it once and time and time again, and you just see the situation worsen. You know, my heart really is with all the Palestinian people.
The funny thing is that on Smashi Business, usually we always get positive comments. It's always people who are praising us for calling it what it is, a genocide. People, like whenever we do such a story. But now in the recent past, in like last 2 months, I've started reading comments where Israeli sympathizers are also now pouring in, because obviously when the account grows, the reach becomes bigger. We have nearly, 21 million views in our last month. Out of those 21 millions, we have people who are actually Israeli sympathizers. And they come and comment and they're like, no, this is wrong, that is wrong, why are you calling it a genocide? We're calling it a genocide because it is a genocide. That's the answer that we have. There is no other answer, and you don't get an explanation. It is a genocide, that is why we call it a genocide. To all the people who come in the comments and say, why this, why that? And all the people who praise us for it, it's not, I don't think it gives us a +1. It's like you're at a job and your employer pays you on time, and the employer is like, no, I pay you on time. No, you don't get a +1. I work on time, you pay me on time. It's a very basic deal.
But
likewise, calling this a genocide is a genocide.
It does make sense because if you take a look at many Western outlets, in fact, even in the Arab world, they call it a conflict, or they call it
even
a war,
right
or a situation. The Gaza situation, as if it's like a boyfriend who broke up with his girlfriend.
It's a situationship.
Like it's like, are you joking? Like this is not a situation.
And the biggest one that I loved their journalism. I still love their journalism. Reuters. It's one of the biggest wires in the world. They still call it a conflict, and that is the biggest problem I have with Reuters. I know they're American-owned. I know they have certain agendas. There are certain lines to toe. They use the word genocide, always in quotes, always with someone saying it. They never use it directly, calling it a genocide. They haven't taken a decision.
And you know,
imagine the biggest three, if you count the 3 wire services in the world, that's AFP, Agence France-Presse, that's French, AP American, Reuters American. All of them cannot call it a genocide. That shows you that at the highest level, I'm not even talking about publications, like publications are separate. Wire services have like the biggest network in the world of reporters, of videographers, of everything. Those 3 people, if they can't call it a genocide without being questioned, that shows you how much the media is being controlled by everyone
and not just
who
control, and not just control, Majid. It's showing you how much the media really is changing.
Yeah.
We've seen how recently there has been this uproar with Gen Z, where if you notice, a lot of them don't actually go and work for these news outlets.
Yeah.
They go and they develop their own platforms where they make video formats. And like off the top of my head, I can think of that guy called Dylan. I'm not sure, is his name Dylan? You know that TikToker? And he just like, he talks about everything. And Really? He
I
has
would
so
remember
many,
his face.
He
I
has so
don't
many
remember.
followers. I don't want to call him a white man.
You wouldn't
but
believe some of the people I actually follow, like I watch all their videos. I don't remember their names.
Honestly,
I
Majid,
just remember the
same.
content they make,
But
right?
it's like if you notice, like that's that's what's happening right now. It's almost like people aren't actually going to Reuters to listen to what's happening.
Yeah.
They're going to Huda Beauty, Huda Katan, and they're watching her stories to keep up with what's going on with Palestine. And for everyone, I saw this one comment under the story that I worked on, the one about what's it called? Morning Brew, basically making fun of Neom, and someone in the comment section was like, "This is such clear like Arab bias or something." And it's like, okay, I understand what you're saying, but the reason why we call out these outlets is because it intrigues me how the Guardian will go out of their way to call out what is happening in Sudan and say that, like, have you seen the content that they produce on Sudan? They talk about it a lot, like in very hefty amounts in great detail. But when it comes to Palestine,
It's funny, but
it's
no,
crazy. They
because
create different villains.
Yeah, you would have seen it over the past, just before we wrap up. Sorry, we went on this spree, but I think this should be talked about, not only here on Smashi Business, it should be talked about on any media, any podcast, anything. That when you look at Guardian's Sudan coverage or any Western media Sudan coverage, they would make it a point to include UAE, include Saudi Arabia, or include some Middle Eastern country which is apparently colluding for their gold and this and that. You look at then the official sources of the countries, and then you go deeper, you will see that maybe there is a connection, but there is not. It's a fabricated, made-up connection that they want to portray in front of the world that, look, Middle East is evil. But let's, for example, for 1 second, just agree with it. Let's say whatever they're saying is right. Then why don't you do the same with Israel and Palestine?
With Netanyahu,
Then your journalism, your ethics, your morals, your journalistic responsibility, it goes out of the window, and you're like, no, not a genocide right now. 100 plus organizations have called it a genocide now. 100 plus. And then UN's best agency, which has historically called famines in the world, you report, now this agency of United Nations has called famine in Ethiopia. You would take it and be like, oh yeah, there's a famine in Ethiopia. But when it comes to Palestine, you'll be like, they have said it, but they're not the complete authority. Bro, you have to keep yourself
so
consistent.
much bias.
It's the thing that I said with UFA when we talked about it, that you have to be consistent. To be honest, I loved the conventional media back in my days when I was growing up. I wasn't a journalist, I was just in college. They had pretty clear views. They were either left-wing, right-wing, or centralist. And to be honest, the most famous ones were always on one side. Either they were right-wing or left-wing. The centrists, the balancing powers who were trying to be nice.
You believe in labels?
No, I don't believe in labels. The idea is, at least they would very clearly in your face tell you, we're very left-wing, we will support this party, we will support this political ideology, we're against LGBTQI, we're against this voting, we're against that. They would clearly tell you, and it will be in their policy statements everywhere. So they were clear with it. This sudden surge of people just trying to be nice and people trying to balance everything, and then people trying the publications, people trying to appeal to everyone.
Woke society.
That is the problem with the modern publications. They're trying to be too centralist, and they don't know what they stand for. And that is why they are losing business. And that is why the people that you're talking about, the podcasters, the individual casters, that's the new breed apparently. I read this word somewhere. Individual casters, not the podcaster. Podcaster is like usually talk with one expert or between two friends or whatever. Individual caster is the person who talks to the camera himself. He has an opinion, he'll tell you. So all these people are now famous because now they take a stand. They're using the same theory of left or right. They support a cause, they say stuff in support of that cause.
Oh, you know what? That's kind of true, because it kind of explains the rise of Andrew Tate. Like, it's so crazy that
he has a vision, he says it. Wrong,
crazy,
right? For people to decide, but he says it.
It's so, most of it actually is so wrong.
Yeah.
But how many grand supporters does this man have, and how much money?
Like,
they're hardcore fans, and he's making so much money out of it. So I think you have a good point there, Majid.
It's just history throughout tells you to take a stand. So if publications now are becoming so neutral, obviously you'll lose your value. And then podcasters. us people who
I
actually
don't
call
think
whatever
they'll lose
it.
their value. They'll find another billionaire to invest with
Yeah,
them.
that can happen
They
also.
definitely will. If you notice, Majid, like with Naguib Sawiris, I've been looking at his history lately. And Monify, the media venture that he launched at the end of last year, it's not his only media company. He has done it so many times, and he has specifically expressed.
Sky
Yes.
News. He invested in Sky News.
And he
came out.
specifically expressed that I
Yeah.
would like us to raise awareness about Egypt and its history and what's going on in the business world. And
I
if you
don't
look
see
at
any
Monify,
Egypt stories.
Majid, if you look at Monify, so many Egypt stories.
No.
Look, listen, they do have a lot. They've
No.
done every single time there's a big Egypt story. There's this journalist, I forgot her name,
one?
but she's great. I know she's Iraqi.
The lady, this one, yeah.
Yeah, she does really great, but she does
this
a
one.
lot of the Egypt stories.
Nice.
Which and listen, for you it might not be a lot, but if you compare
Yeah.
it to other media,
Yeah.
it's more than enough. And I love how he'll go on X and he'll repost it. So listen, these media companies, even if they don't take an approach, as you say, they'll find a billionaire to invest in them. You know, someone will jump in again, the same way Jeff Bezos jumped in with the Washington Post, and they'll get the investment
We
that
are
they
happy
need.
with our owner. He's not a billionaire, but at least he lets us say what is as
Oh, this is killing
as
me.
a genocide. So we're happy with him.
And that's a wrap for today, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into the Smashy Business Show. Make sure to follow us across all social media channels at Smashy Business and stay ahead with our daily newsletter. You'll find the subscription link in the description.
This has been a Smashy Business Show, a Smashy Business production, part of the Augustus Media Podcast Network. A big shout out to our more than 2 million monthly listeners across all platforms. You make this possible if you're one of them. We appreciate you. Have a great day. We will see you tomorrow. And I think let's end it free Palestine. We'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.